Autobots, transform and roll out. What is up? What is going on? My name is Arvind Ramakrishna and welcome to Driven to Draw. We've got a great video here for you today. In fact, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different as a tribute to the 80s. Actually, it's not a tribute to the 80s, but I have a huge fascination for Transformers. In fact, I used to watch the 80s Transformers back when I was a little kid, and I remember going through every single season. Now that I have kids of my own, I try to kind of steer them toward all the good stuff from the 80s. It's really pretty fascinating to see these kids because they're so used to seeing all these CGI animated movies, and they really love some of the products or some of the TV shows that we used to see way back in the 80s, and I think it's awesome. But today what we're going to do is I'm going to just do a quick marker rendering sketch. So sit back and relax. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we'll see you here in a little bit. Hey there, what is up? What is going on? Arvind Ramakrishna here. We're going to be doing a quick demo of a marker rendering, and I'm just kind of showing you all the different kind of markers that I'm going to be using with the varied brands. And as you can see here in the video, I've got the 30%, 40%, 50% gray, life red that I'm using in chart pack, and some of these other colors that you've got there. Peach, I think, is another one. I kind of regret that I didn't actually get the sketch recorded, but incidentally I actually drew the sketch over at my kids karate class, so it would look kind of strange for me to take a camera and just to prop up and say, excuse me, don't mind me, I'm just gonna record here and explain everything as you guys are as the instructor is teaching them a karate chop across the face or something. I don't know if that would work, but anyway, I'm gonna start off here with I typically start off with just light colors here, and what I'm gonna do is that I've just added some 30% gray markers here in just the joint areas and things, and areas that I would think it would just be light. And then I've got the purple sage, and then I just start to add that again into other components of the figure. And my reference basically was just a Transformer robot that it's actually my son's. So multiple uses. See, I mean, it's a great excuse for me to be able to take his toys and say I need to borrow this for a second here. But this is just a quick rendering style, and I think the important thing to understand into observing objects is, the reason why we're doing this, even though we're not drawing any sort of vehicles or anything like that, it's incredibly important to just engage into drawing everything that you can see. In fact, when you go to design school, you're going to be required to draw many different objects, and there's a reason. It's because they want to test, see how well you're able to observe and then replicate what you're seeing from a physical object standpoint, and seeing how well you can dissect that object, put it into perspective, and then to capture some of these details. So I'm just working through, unfortunately this is a sped up video, but I'm just sort of working through and just adding darks and lights wherever I can, again working with gray markers. So I had the 30%, and I'm just gradually moving up to, I think this is like the 60% marker or something. And all I'm doing now is just, let me see, what is it 60 or 80%, something like that. But what I'm doing is just adding areas where I would see a little bit more value, and just areas of high contrast. So I'm just sort of pushing and creating sort of a graphic with the darker marker. That's what it does. It kind of pops out the lighter effects, or pops out the lighter colors, and here I'm able to get sort of a separation of the joints and just bring it to life a little bit. you know? And believe it or not, I was when I first did the sketch, I was working pretty fast. I think it took like 15 minutes or something. It's not an overly detailed sketch. If you look up close, you know, I got a lot of squiggly lines. And I remember a buddy of mine who was teaching over at CCS, and it was pretty amazing to watch him. He used to just talk to me about indication and how he would just indicate details, and it was pretty amazing. And he was drawing robots at that time. So every time I get down and I sketch robots or something, I think about that time. It was so long ago too, but just his level of indicating stuff was just really pretty phenomenal without having to. That's what you want to do. You don't want to draw every single minute little detail. You want to be able to develop the knack and the art for just adding, touching up the drawing with things that make it look like there's a lot of detail, when all you're doing is sort of patterning and that sort of thing. So this is fairly quick. Here I'm going to the grill area, increasing the value a little bit, going a little bit darker, and I'll just sort of continue along in the drawing, just adding a little bit. And when you draw so many other different things, whether it's trucks, cars, automobiles, fruit, still, other kinds of still life, vases, whatever, and as you start to get proficient in one, it's really a terrific thing to discover how a lot of this just applies to just about any other subject. Arguably, I would say that drawing automobiles and drawing human figures, or human beings, are probably the toughest things you could ever think of drawing. Mostly because you have to really deal with perspective and really nail down your fundamentals and basics for you to develop something that looks a little realistic, at least plausible. Draw a sketch or something that is out of whack, and people are gonna be like, they're gonna know immediately if something's off. I'm adding a little life red here to the eyes, and they end up being a little bit dark, so I end up having to go back and punch it out a little bit. Oh, and the paper I'm using is a hammer mill. It's laser paper. I think it's like a 28-pound. Great paper for marker. Still kind of bleeds in the back, but now I'm just gonna experiment here. I don't really know what this is gonna look like, so I'm just gonna give it a shot, because at the end of the day, if I don't like it, I'll just cut it all out and then say, well, this just didn't work out. So cut it out, then you can spray fix at the back and then stick it onto another sheet. Very, very old school style here. Very old school. Going with markers and going with a pretty generic background. Nothing special at all about it. All I'm trying to see is, can I get a color, and here I don't like it that much because you can sort of see all the streaks of your marker. It's not what I really intended. Typically they can blend pretty well, but I think marker paper is probably the best solution for that. Then I'm going to go back with the marker and then outline it, so I kind of silhouette the entire sketch a little bit with a darker shade. I think this is like blueberry or something. Chart back. Again, if you're doing drawings on your own, it's okay to mess up and experiment, because you're gonna have to be doing a lot of these anyway, but to get good. So this is your time to kind of play in the sandbox and see what kind of works, and just research color compositions and research what colors kind of go together, right? And then you have to sort of test that out on your own. This is okay. You know, I'm not too happy with that purple background, to be honest, because I just don't like the streaks. So I might even just stencil this out or cut it all out. Now I got the gel pen highlights, which is great because you don't need to use Winsor & Newton paints. You lose something also, but it's okay. The thickness and the stroke of the brush versus a gel pen point. I tell you, I can't get enough with analog traditional tools. It's just, oh my, you know, people are going so much digital, which is fine because you need to learn digital for sure, and you need it when you're, especially if you're going to go to work and that's going to be your profession. You got to get into digital stuff. But oh man, there's nothing like just drawing with paper, pen and paper. That just that extra, you know, that relationship you build with your materials. It's just, it's awesome. Just feeling the smoothness of the marker on the page, and it's great. It really is cool. So that's it. That's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, if you want more video tutorials, visit driventodraw.com. We'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.